In the last tutorial, I showed you I just gave you a very small taste of what JSON was about. But I want to show you a real-life example, and that's what I did with demo8. Demo8.php is very, very similar to the previous ones, demo6. I'd say it's closest to demo6. So let me show you what happens. When I change the drop-down, it tells me how many counties I should expect. When I hit Get Details, now I get a very nicely formatted list. Now this is not anything that I could not do with just grabbing HTML. I'm using JSON. I could do this using what you've seen, say demo2 through demo6. So there's no reason why I could not do that, but at some point I'm going to have to show you how to use JSON so that when we get into the more advanced web applications, demonstrations, that it will make sense. So let me go ahead and open up demo8 and show you what's going on. Alright, so once again at the top, this is nothing but a little bit of PHP to power the drop-down field. So we've got that information there. And let me scroll down. Alright, we're pulling in the latest version of jQuery, and we're using the form plugin. That's the same as demo6. The HTML is very much the same. At document ready, we're appending this div with a target ID. That's going to be our target div ID. That's going to be our container where we're going to send the results. So, but notice that I've commented out. See these two forward slashes? That means that I've turned off the feature in the form plugin where we're sending this information straight back to the target div. Okay, so something has to happen once the information comes back. So before submit, we're still firing off this function down here called show request. On success, we're using a function called process JSON. So that's this function right here when it comes back. And I need to tell it, this is a new option that I have not turned on until now. I've turned on data type JSON. So I'm telling the form plugin that we're not sending back HTML or text or XML. We're looking for JSON. That's what we're expecting. We're expecting JSON information. And just as I've shown you many times before in previous tutorials, we are binding this to the county form, the form with the ID county form, and these are the options that are being sent right here. Alright, so as with other tutorials, the show request, all that's doing is it's adding an extra name value pair. This time it happens to be JSON equals 1. And by the way, as I mentioned before, but it's worth repeating, I'm sending the information to results4.php, and I'll show you why that's important in a second. Now this is where, when I show you results4, it's going to become obvious why, or I'm going to explain why you need to use PHP 5. Okay, so moving right along. Okay, so the function that takes over once the information comes back, when the JSON data comes back, this function takes over, and it grabs the JSON, is put into the JSON object is put into the data variable. And what we're doing is we're using a function of jQuery to cycle through every value of the JSON object. So for each data that's holding the JSON object, fire off this function. And this is where we are currently building we're adding to a variable we've set called county list. And this is HTML, li, this county. So this refers to the JSON information, county, and then close it off. And then what we're doing, once we cycle through, so each function starts here and it ends right here. So once that has completed, once it has cycled through every bit of the JSON object, it's going to look for ID target div and put in the HTML and add an unordered list HTML, give it an ID of county list, and then put in the variable county list. These two have nothing to do with each other. I just happen to name them the same. So this is actually being, the reason why I put this in here is because I have some CSS, cascading style sheet code that adds the nice green check marks. And then this information is being put right here, and then we close out our unordered list. So we add all that into the target div. Alright, so let's scroll down, and this is the same code that you've seen before, where once we change the dropdown, it goes over to rowcount.php and grabs the information, says here's how many values here's how many results you should expect. Alright, now I know that probably seemed like a mouthful, but let me show you what's going on. Let me hit refresh again. This is demo8, just to make sure we're on the same page. So I hit 30% increase. So it says I should expect 3 counties with growth greater than 30%. Before I hit get details, let's hit Firebug, and when I hit get details, watch below. Let me slide this over. Okay, so it went to results 4, and if I click this and tell it to load the response, here's what came back. So when I tell it show this county, this dot county, it's grabbing, so it's cycling through this dot county, okay, Flagler County, this dot county, okay, Lake County, this dot county, okay, the last one is Osceola County. Then it's wrapping all of that inside of an unordered list and popping that in there. Now, if you were to view the source code, you're not going to see any of that, except we have, as I've shown you in a previous tutorial, we have the Firefox Web Developer add-on, and so I can view the generated source. So this will show me all the magic that's happened. Here's our target div, and that's where the information was added. So that's where the unordered list was added. And actually, I see that I have 2 target divs, and this is a mistake. It's a mistake that I pointed out earlier, because you might have been wondering, well, where's that unordered list? It's up here inside the first target div. So let me go back, and I'm going to go ahead and fix something. This error is not going to be in your files because I'm going to remove it right now. But sometimes you can learn a lot by seeing a mistake. Okay, here's the mistake, and I breezed through this in a previous tutorial. Notice that the first thing that I do is I look for a div with the ID of main, and I add this div, our target div, so that we have a container to add this into. But then later on, and this is just a remnant from some other code that I've written, I'm doing the same thing again. So all I need to do is I need to remove this. So all I have to do is choose, look for form, ID of county form, field set, find, select growth. I could even, if you want to, I'll just show you that I can just remove this. So I can just skip all this, look for a form with an ID of county form with a select field with an ID of growth. When it changes, do all this other stuff that you've already seen. Okay, I can save that. And let me go ahead and re-upload this and show you. Here we go. I'll re-upload demo8. Click drag and drop. Let's hit refresh. Alright. Now you're not going to see any difference in the functionality. Well, okay, it's showing a little bit differently here. Get details. Boom. Alright, so I can view generated source. And there you go. So you got target div, da 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 da. Now, if I want to put it back inside of this field set, then what I can do is I can hit Control Z a few times, and all I have to do, so now it's going to look for the field set, it's going to append the target div. So what I'll do this time is I will just remove, where are we? Okay, so I'll remove the first line that says go and add this target div over here. So in other words, I'm just playing around. I'm going to keep the second version, lose the first one. Alright, let's hit refresh. See what we got. 15% increase. Alright, get details. Boom. There we go. So I personally like that version better. And if I view the generated source, scroll down, where are we here? Okay, so here we go. Div ID equals target div. So now I just have one target div, I've just placed it in a different location. unordered list with ID of county list, and then here's Clay County, Collier County. So again, if I ever want to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, that's where the web developer extension and the Firebug add-on for Firefox is extremely handy for trying to dissect exactly what's going on behind the scenes when I've got a jQuery powered Ajax application.